In this episode, we met with Greg Forsyth of Deka Lash to learn how this franchise retailer fuels its rapid growth with a hyper-focused influencer marketing program.
When is an influencer a powerful force for the brand versus just a passionate consumer? Like how do you, when you look at it, when's the switch?
The number of visits and the amount spent. I think both those are critical factors in determining who is your brand ambassador, who are your brand champions versus who's just a fan. Because you could have someone come in and really like you and talk well about you, and that's great. But they may not engage if you have some sort of brand ambassador program. If you really want to get that person on board, then your best influencers are already in your system. They're already buying from you. And so many companies are looking outside. You know, where can we find influencers for our brand? And it's a really tedious process because you're looking at hashtags and you're looking at people that like similar products or maybe repping similar brands or competitors' brands. And now you have this conversion aspect. I got to bring you on board and tell you why we're great so you can turn around and tell your customers why we're great. Well, let's skip that process. Here's a script. And then what happens is a lot of people will follow influencers very faithfully. They're almost celebrities of our day. When you look at not just the millennials they're becoming older and they're in the workforce and they're owning the companies. You really got to look at Generation Z and what, who's coming after the millennials. I think of my daughter, for example. She can tell you 10 people on YouTube before she can tell you 10 actors or actresses. This is her world. This is what she relates to. She knows these personalities almost like they're friends. She watches their videos every day. She knows when they come out with a new one. And what happens is these ambassadors that you go out and you solicit and you give them a script, well, they'll all do it on Tuesday. So all of a sudden your inbox is ding, 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 ding. Hey, I got this great product from brand Y. And the other one says, I got this great product from brand Y. And now it's just corporate swill.
Yep.
It's the same message from all of these influencers. It's discounted just like an advertisement is because it's not genuine. If you really want to be genuine, and I think that's where influencers really have the most impact with your customers, is when it's from the heart and it doesn't sound like something that a boardroom wrote for them to speak. They're talking about how much they love it and how often they use it. So someone that buys a lot from you and buys often from you, they can give that background. I use this product every day, and they can mean it. And now you have someone in your system, you can see they come in every month, they buy $200 worth of product. I'm going to make it worth their while. I'm going to reach out to that person, and I'm going to offer them something incredible. Not like $20 off, not a 10% off coupon. I'm going to give them something of value. Everything that I produce in a year, you're going to get a free version of. Every single product. And I'm going to keep doing that for you. And maybe I'll bring them into a discussion, make them part of a group that's testing new products. What a better way to make them fall in love and adhere them to the brand and include them on decisions.
The interesting outcome of this point is, it's not just about the folks who are buying your product and using your product, but moreover the people who have a genuine interest and passion for what you do, and they're actually a customer versus someone who's just getting paid to talk about you.
Yeah, I love that. I like understanding the difference between just a regular consumer and basically a super consumer or
Right.
an influencer. And to your point, really getting to the pure influencer is what's important, because it's going to get exposed over time if someone is really just getting paid to say nice things.
Exactly. And it makes it it's a more effortless conversation for that person to have that because they truly love your brand and it shows.
Yep. So I think about we've seen the recommendations and Yelp and those types of things. When does that consumer who buys a lot, who is obviously a big, ferocious fanatic about the products, become an influencer? Do you look at, okay, so they're buying a ton, how do you know their reach to pick up a megaphone and shout, I love Deka Lash or whatever brand it is?
So it depends on their following, and more importantly, it depends on their engagement. So we have used a number of tactics, starting with influencers that have a very small following, mommy and me blogs, maybe a collegiate student that's just very active. And there's a number of ways that you can build a following. So you can use, there's programs out there that will follow and refollow other people similar to you until you build this audience, and you can get 10 to 20,000 followers pretty quickly. But it doesn't always mean anything, because if they're not engaging with you, if you're making a post and only 4 people are liking it or 10 people are liking it, what good is it really doing the brand? It really isn't. So at that point, you got to look at what's their engagement. They could have 500 followers, but they could have a really loyal following, and they're getting 50 likes and comments or 100 likes and comments every time they post. That person is more valuable to you as a company than that person has 20,000 and only has 10 people engaging with them. So you really got to look at the engagement. I would say for a brand, anytime they get to that point where they're having triple digit comments and likes or shares on their posts, and it's consistent, it's not just one hot post that someone liked. Every time they put something up, they have 100 people like or comment or share it. Now that person is an influencer. That person's going to be a brand ambassador for you, and they are actually going to bring other people in the door, because referral is still the number one source of marketing, word of mouth. And that's really our best way to solicit that. You can hand out coupons and stuff, and really all you're doing is planting that seed that, hey, I want to talk about this brand. But the new way of building that word of mouth, that trust referral, is through influencers.
It's one thing for you to have a large following of people on your social networks. It's another thing to have people who are truly engaging with you, providing comments and commentary, and you're commenting back. Those are the people that Greg's talking about here, the ones that really have a presence and care about their following, and not just
I think it gets challenging at times as a marketer, that you want that instant result. You want to see a top of funnel that is significant, thousands of contacts. But he drives a great point here that some of those numbers can be really just useless numbers.
Right.
And I think when you're a brand or you're a retailer, you got to kind of sift through that noise and get to the real meaningful people that you want to reach. And that's tough, because we know in this day and age, I'm looking at that follower number, I want it to be huge, and to his point, it could be a whole bunch of just fake contacts.
Bots.
Without a doubt. So you talk about giving them kind of an outrageous offer.
Yes.
How often do you have to stoke the fires of that influencer? Is there a frequency in which you're providing those offers, or is there some sort of program you put them on? I mean, how do you keep them engaged?
Yes, 2 schools of thought. One, you can keep them continually engaged by always giving them new product, and you can give them an affiliate code which allows them to work, and you can track that. So you can see with their code how many people have purchased using it. So you might find a really good, really engaged influencer, but you don't know what their conversion rate is unless you track it.
Yeah.
So if you have something that's continual, then really if they start to wane or fade, you find another brand ambassador. You don't want to spend the effort or the money trying to bring them back. The other school of thought is that you just do it periodically, kind of in small chunks. You give them something really awesome, let them run with that for a while, and then re-engage with them 6 months from now. And it allows you to see, if they're sticking up with it, I think, or they're keeping up with their channel. What we see in influencers is that they grow and they die, just like anything else. It's a new medium. It's something that I think a lot of the younger demographic is looking at it as a real way to make money, or at least a way to follow their passion or their hobbies. So it's just like anything else. It's like looking at an employee almost. Are they sticking with it? Are they performing well? Are they doing it month over month?
The focus on metrics here in the digital age is so critical. Greg brings up the great point there. If you're able to track through the affiliate programs and through monitoring tools on social, track that engagement, make sure that it's actually continuing, because the last thing you want is to see that network just start to drop off.
Well, what I thought was funny, and it makes sense, but it's great to see it here, and really kind of drives the point home, is that they're perishable influencers.
Mm-hmm.
right? There's an expiration to some of these influencers. And to your point, if I stay, if I keep my finger on the pulse of the metrics of what drives success in my influencer network, then I'm going to start to see when those folks are starting to fall off. I thought it was really, really fascinating that there is this expiration, and you should be always looking to, who is my next group of influencers that I need to bet on next, because these folks aren't going to last forever. Which is a little scary when you think about it. Like, I mean, at times I'm always thinking, boy, what's that program I can set and watch continue to grow up and to the right? I mean, being a SaaS-based company like we are, that's really attractive. This takes a lot of care and feeding that you got to be mindful of, or you could all of a sudden have a group of really rock star performers or influencers a year ago that now don't do anything for you.
Right.
So when you think about all the different social network channels out there, which ones do you see that are kind of your staple, your solid channels? Which ones do you see that are up and coming, and which ones do you find that really kind of have started to lose their appeal?
They all serve a purpose depending on your product. If you're in fashion and beauty, then Instagram's your number one, and there's really no comparison. But really, it's understanding the medium. Each one has a very different purpose, and I see a lot of businesses make that mistake. They look at it all as social. They label it social media, right? So they're going to say, I'm going to put this offer on Facebook, I'm also going to put it on Twitter, and I'm also going to put it on Instagram. And that's the worst mistake they could make. And they wonder why in 6 months if they hit 100 followers or 1,000 followers and they plateaued. Because they're using their channels like advertising boards or promotional boards, and nobody wants to follow that. Especially Instagram. It's so visual. People want to learn about the brand, and they want to learn about what it is that you do. And having engagement, not just with your customers, but featuring your employees and any kind of philanthropic, philanthropy type efforts that you have. People want to connect with more than just a product. They want to connect with a brand that's making change and doing something good. And Instagram's a great place to share that stuff. Facebook is too, but Facebook becomes more customer service after a while. After you reach a certain following, it's a great engagement source because there's Facebook Messenger and people reach out to your brand directly through Facebook. Yelp can be good for certain circles. Twitter has its niche too in business and tech. You're going to reach a little bit more of a following there than you are on Instagram, where your product really doesn't showcase well and you don't have the following. So it's really matching your product or your service with what social channel is best, and then go all out.
Great information, a great breakdown on the way that social networks should be used. I think he is absolutely right. A lot of folks out there just think, I'm going to post this content everywhere and take no heed to who the audience is on those networks. Love the breakdown that Greg provided. It was really easy to understand. And
yeah, I like it too. I think a lot of our users are going to love to be able to leverage those definitions when they're deploying programs, because he does make it very simple. Right. Here's when to use Twitter, here's when to use Facebook, and here's when to use Instagram. Great, simple, to the point information.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is like an, I think, ever-changing environment. As a innovator, especially in retail, how do you keep up with all of this?
Well, you hope that if you're innovating correctly, you're leading the charge. You don't have to worry about keeping up. Yeah. It's like any IT discipline. I think it's ever changing right now because it's recent. I don't want to say it's new because it's been around for a little while, but we're starting to see it congeal. We're starting to see it take shape, and it's becoming a legitimate advertising platform. We see the pros and cons. We see the dangers. It's nothing I think companies are looking at as, wow, I really want to dip my toes in this influencer water. And if they are at that point, then they're already way behind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think what we look for now is what's next, and how do we take advantage of this in our business so that it's legitimate, it's true, and it speaks to the brand. That's really the challenge right now, is to find those influencers that are a good fit, and we know where to look for them now, and we know what kind of metrics to look for, so it's becoming an easier task for businesses.
Great conversation with Greg. I think that we learned a lot about the way that they leverage influencers in their business. I think a lot of our customers will benefit from this conversation. And
Yeah, I think it's a Kickstarter in how to utilize social platforms to help your business grow. I mean, I know we have some tools with Social Buzz and some other things on the platform to help them get kickstarted as well. But having a person like Greg talk a little bit about influencers and how that plays its role makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
So again,
Yeah, again and again. Proper.
very good.
Yeah.
So it's the way you look. You're like,
So